So we'll start with the cervical vertebrae today. The first most important thing about the cervical vertebrae is how to identify the cervical vertebrae. The cervical vertebrae are identified by the presence of a foramen which is present in the transverse process, that is called foramen transversarum. See, this is the foramen transversarum. This is the transverse process of the cervical vertebra, and that transverse process is pierced by a foramen which is called foramen transversarum. So this is the most important feature for identifying a cervical vertebra. You have 7 cervical vertebrae. First, second and 7th are atypical, meaning they are unique, and 3 to 6 are typical. But be it typical or atypical, all the cervical vertebrae will have the foramen transversarum. So that is the most important characteristic feature of a cervical vertebra, which will distinguish cervical vertebra from the rest of the vertebrae. So now when you talk about the typical cervical vertebra, you will see that the typical cervical vertebra has a body which is placed anteriorly. This body is short and it has an anterior surface, a posterior surface, superior surface and inferior surface. Anterior surface is slightly projecting downwards from the lower border. The posterior surface has foramina for the passage of basivertebral veins. The superior surface is beveled, okay, and the inferior surface is concave or convex. So that is the body. The body is going to be short, okay. Now the next part of the vertebra is the vertebral arch, and the vertebral arch is made up of pedicles. So these are the pedicles which are going to connect the body, which are starting from the body posteriorly and going still posterior. Short pieces of bones which are present here, these are the pedicles, and then you have 2 flat pieces of bones which are called as the laminae. The pedicles and the laminae together form the vertebral foramen, and the laminae will unite to form the spine of the cervical vertebra, and the spine of the cervical vertebra is characteristically bifid. Now here in this vertebra it is slightly broken, but you will have a bifid spine for the cervical vertebra, which is again a characteristic of cervical vertebra, where in this bifid spine you have the presence of ligamentum nuchae. Okay, so that is the body, the pedicle and the lamina. The next feature which is there in the vertebra is the articular facets. So you will have superior articular facets here and inferior articular facets. Superior articular facets are present at the junction of the pedicle and the lamina superiorly. They are directed posteriorly and medially, and inferior articular facets are present on the inside of the lamina. These facets are going to fuse with the higher and the lower vertebra to form the intervertebral joint. Now the most important feature of the cervical vertebra is this transverse process, which has the foramen transversarum, which is the most characteristic feature of the cervical vertebra. The foramen transversarum transmits 3 important structures: the vertebral artery, the vertebral vein and branches of inferior cervical ganglion. But it is very important to understand that the foramen transversarum of C7, the 7th cervical vertebra, is empty and it does not transmit any of these structures. Occasionally the vertebral vein might pass through it, but vertebral artery does not pass through the foramen transversarum. Now because of the foramen transversarum, this transverse process gets divided into 3 parts. There is an anterior root, a posterior root, and this is called as the costotransverse bar. So this is the anterior root, this is the posterior root, and these 2 are connected by a costotransverse bar. Each of these root has an elevation here. This is called as the anterior tubercle and this is the posterior tubercle. Okay, so that is the features of a typical cervical vertebra. Now to identify the atypical ones, which are the first cervical vertebra, this is called as atlas. Now this is very unique as compared to these typical cervical vertebra. The atlas is ring shaped. It does not have a body, it does not have a spine. It has 2 arches. This arch is called as the anterior arch and this arch is the posterior arch, and there are 2 lateral masses. Okay, so there is an anterior arch, a posterior arch, and there are 2 lateral masses for the atlas, and again you will see on the side that there will be the foramen transversarum. Now the anterior arch is small and it has the tubercle here which is present anteriorly. This is called as the anterior tubercle, and the posterior part of the anterior arch has a facet. This facet is going to accommodate the odontoid process or the dens of the 2nd cervical vertebra, and it will form the atlantoaxial joint. So that is about the anterior arch. The posterior arch is longer And like the anterior arch has the anterior tubercle, the posterior arch will have the posterior tubercle, and the superior surface of this arch has a groove. This groove is called as the vertebral groove, through which the vertebral artery is going to pass, and then it enters the foramen magnum. So that is about the posterior arch. The two lateral masses are thick bars of bone which are present on either side, and they have the superior articular facets and the inferior articular facets. The superior articular facets are concave and kidney shaped. So that is how you identify the superior articular facets. The inferior one are flat. So this is how the vertebra has to be placed. This is anterior, this is posterior, this is superior and inferior. The medial side of this lateral masses has a tubercle. This is called as the medial tubercle, and this medial tubercle provides attachment to a very important ligament which is called as transverse ligament of the atlas, and this ligament is going to hold the dens or the odontoid process in its place, and it forms a very important life-saving ligament. And last, what remains in the atlas is the foramen transoserium, which is a characteristic feature of the cervical vertebra, and this also is going to transmit vertebral artery, vertebral vein and branches of inferior cervical ganglia. Okay, so that is the atlas. The next atypical cervical vertebra is the axis. Now this looks like a typical cervical vertebra with many modifications. The most important feature of the axis is this: the presence of the dens or the odontoid process on the superior surface of the body. Now this dens is going to represent the body of the first cervical vertebra. The other things are very similar to typical cervical vertebra. You will have a body with the anterior surface, a posterior surface, superior surface and inferior surface. Then you will have the superior articular facets, the inferior articular facets, and the pedicles here are completely covered by the superior articular facet. You cannot see the pedicles from above, and the laminae will unite to form the spine, which is again characteristically bifid. So the important feature is the identifying feature of the axis or the second cervical vertebra is the presence of the dens or the odontoid process, and then like all cervical vertebrae, you will have the foramen transoserium. The thing that you have to understand here is that the superior articular facet is going to partly cover the foramen transoserium. So that is the unique feature of this. Now the last of the cervical vertebrae, atypical one, is called C7, or it is also called as vertebra prominens. Now this is very different from the typical cervical vertebra. The body is cervical vertebra like, but the spine, you can see the spine is long, elongated and rounded with a rounded tip, which is not bifid. This forms the most prominent bony elevation at the root of the neck, and this is the point from where you start counting the vertebrae in the living or in the dead. So that is why this vertebra, because it forms the first prominence of the spine, this vertebra is called as vertebra prominens. All the other features are similar to typical cervical vertebra, and then you have this feature which is unique for the cervical vertebra. This is the foramen transoserium, and what you have to remember here is that the foramen transoserium of C7 is empty. Occasionally the vertebral vein can pass through it, otherwise nothing is going to pass through it. Thank you.